right, and welcome back to another episode of JR Takes. As always, Ryan and I coming at you with the latest NFL and Seattle news. And Ryan, we got the first game underway with a W under our belt.
1-0.
And that was probably the best defensive performance I've seen from us in a long time. As far as the tackling goes, especially with how our tackling was last year and the seasons prior to that, very refreshing to see our safeties not bounce off of a running back and eat up 15 yards on what should have been a 2-yard gain.
Yeah, I love me some Quandre Diggs, but I sure didn't miss him just throwing himself at someone without wrapping up and having them bounce off easily and get 10 more yards. So
right.
Look at the photo.
Oh, sorry, Quandre. No, I think obviously we'll get more into it, but I think that was the most sound, solid, fundamental defensive performance I've seen since 2016. Like, the discipline they were playing with, Mike McDonald's impact showed up immediately.
Well, the discipline can't be talked about enough because it seemed like no matter how bad the offense was doing, the defense was not letting up.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, let's just start from the beginning of the game. I believe we got the ball first and get sacked and throw a pick immediately.
Yeah.
Like, fucking immediately. Defense only allows 3 points. Then I believe there was the crazy safety sequence where we give up 2 safeties in a row and, again, only give up a field goal.
Insane. Like, what happened?
I've never seen that happen before.
I was like, we're fucked.
But if you think about it, if the defense was 1% worse, we might have lost this game just because of how bad that started. But they did not, blink when they were backed up on their own goal line or red zone multiple times in this game to start off and getting a few pretty quick short changes of possession in a row there where they're back on the field after they were just there. So definitely hats off to them for keeping us in this game. Sticking in the first half, dude, what was that offensive line performance to start off this game? Because I know the Geno interception, he got hit as he threw. I still don't know where he was going with that ball. Just take the sack, dude.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to talk about real quick, we'll get into that in a second, but we've all played, everyone in this room has played sports competitively at one point, and the fact that the defense was able to just keep going out there knowing how hopeless the offense looked and how we didn't have any sort of new answer to how bad we were playing with the offensive line going in the first half, it's really hard to be the one that is, doing all the right things for your team while other members of the team are fucking it up for you in every way, shape, or form. So, the fact that our defense just kept going out there and doing the same thing over and over again, I'm like, man, I feel really good about this team because I feel like we're just going to be relentless all season. And it doesn't matter what we're doing offensively, we're going to be doing the same thing every time.
And I don't think it was really fluky either. Bo Nix played a very bad game. I will admit that first and foremost, but even when he was getting completions, they gave up almost no yak. The running backs, I believe, had 20 carries on the Broncos for 64 yards, so they held the run game together. They got the Broncos got some scramble yards that made it look like they did better than they actually did in the running game, but there was really nothing they could do. There was no big plays. We did get fortunate with a couple drops, but the Broncos were fortunate that Bo Nix didn't throw 5 picks in this game because we dropped a couple gimme interceptions besides the 2 that we got. So this could have been an ugly game for the Broncos if the ball didn't bounce their way, fortunately, a couple times. We'll get into the defense more later, but the line definitely played better in the second half. But, man, if Christian Haynes isn't good enough to at least get some playing time at one of the guard spots, I don't know what we're doing because I thought Laken Tomlinson and Anthony Bradford were hopeless in the first half. I mean, you watch them just get embarrassed in pass protections a couple times where they don't even get a finger on a guy that's closer to them than me and you are right now. You can't be doing that. Maybe it was just They got caught half asleep. I don't know what happened. It can happen again, and if it does, one of them needs to get replaced, or we need to make a trade, because I think otherwise, besides the fact that George Fant got banged up, sounds like it's not too serious.
It's not? I thought it was like ACL tear done for the year.
I think he like sprained his knee or something, so he's like right now questionable for this game against the Patriots.
That's a
coming
relief.
up. Yeah, I thought he was like done for the season the way he was moving, because it was not.
God, we have such bad luck for our line week 1.
I know, our right tackle position is just like cursed. But I thought Charles Cross, and not just me, but people who know how to grade offensive linemen, I thought he played a phenomenal game. He looks like he's made a leap this year. The guy we just not traded for, but signed,
Connor
Williams, looked much better. There's a couple bad plays, but held up in pass protection and was flat out good in the run game. And then I know Stone Forsythe is a third string tackle, but he wasn't, we've had worse. We've had worse out there for sure. So they really found a way to gel in the second half. And it's kind of funny. We talked all season or all offseason about how JSN looked like he was going to make the leap to the number 2 receiver, and how DK was going to be this alpha. Tyler Lockett really saved the day for us. He had a couple amazing
and he had the
catches.
game sealing catch too. He should have dropped that ball.
I've watched that play like 50 times. I still don't know how he caught that.
Yeah, he caught it in between his thighs. It was.
And
he should have dropped it.
Gino put it in the only spot it could have possibly been completed to. I don't know if you've seen the end zone angle, but he literally, like, the Broncos defender's outstretched hand is like this, and the ball's like right here. Like Tyler wasn't even open. It was just a perfect throw, but it had to be an impossible catch, and somehow Tyler made it. Really, I'd saved the game, and I think the early demise of Tyler Lockett was greatly exaggerated. He looks as good as ever this year.
Yeah, I think everyone just assumed because he was getting up there in age that would translate to, being washed, but he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. And what was I going to say about loved also the play call to seal the game. I feel like Pete Carroll never had the balls to do that. He would always be conservative, run the ball, make them use a timeout, and then let our defense win us the game. Because Ryan Grubb did that in the Apple Cup against the Cougs.
Yeah.
Ran a sweet play to Roma Dunze, sealed the game, ended up getting like 30 yards. Granted, they did a lot of dumb play calls after that when they didn't need to, but I like the aggression, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I feel like part of that was a psychological thing by Pete. Like, he wanted to let the defense know that he trusts them to win the game. But I don't want your defense to have to win you the game. I want your offense to win you the game, because it's a much more sure path. And as a fan and a viewer, the stress of watching your defense trying to stop one last drive is horrible.
Yeah, I hate it.
The Seahawks have taken years off my life. So the fact that they went for it there and got it, it's getting a little annoyed and stressed, because the defense only gave up one scoring drive all game. And the main big play on it was a Bo Nix rush, which I don't want to whine about the refs, but oh my fucking God, Leonard Williams was getting held on that play. I don't know if you saw it, but he was literally like this with a guy's arm around his neck, throwing his hand up. Ref's right there. Anyways, and then a Bo Nix scramble where Devin Witherspoon had a chance to make the tackle, but they were going to score. It doesn't really matter. But in that situation, the Broncos have one timeout. And, yeah, I agree. I think in years past we would have just ran the ball for, no gain and forced them to burn it. But I think going for the win there is just the right move. I think analytics would agree with that, and I'm very encouraged that we did that. And I think kind of on offense, the number one guy for us this game was Kenneth Walker. This was, I thought, one of his better games yet as a pro, because he was really kind of the spark plug for this whole thing to get it going.
Yeah, I liked the usage of Ken Walker. I felt like we were just, it was straight up old school, pound the rock and just keep feeding him. And definitely liked what I saw in that regard, and hope moving forward we can still be a run first team. That being said, we ran 2 run plays that went nowhere. Our first and second down on that final drive, and then we threw it to Tyler Lockett.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it was just nice to see 3rd and long. Let's go for it and win the game, and we did. So.
Right, and on that note, I was very confused that Charbonnet was in on the last drive. I guess Kenneth was a little sore or something. It might have just been a purely injury-related thing, but when the game's on the line, I want Walker out there. I know Charbonnet's good. He scored a touchdown. Gino's first passing touchdown of the season goes to Charbonnet, and he played a pretty all-right game, but he just does not have that burst or even close to it that Kenneth has, and you see sometimes with Charbonnet, like, it looks like he's about to get a ton of yards, but he just doesn't have the speed to get to the hole in time. Whereas Walker with the ball in his hands is like, he's kind of like the modern LaShawn McCoy. Like, the quickness and suddenness in his moves. Yeah, I was really encouraged overall by that second half offensive performance because I think we left some meat on the bone, and I would really like to see DK win some more of these tough one-on-one matchups. Like, I know the Broncos corner, Surtain, is about as good as it gets in the NFL, but I feel like we keep waiting for him to get to the point where it doesn't matter who he's matched up against. He's going to win those more often than he doesn't, and he had a couple chances on contested balls and just still isn't coming down with them. So I hope he can find that, because when he does, I really feel like he's going to be that number 1 receiver we've been waiting for him to become.
Agreed. I guess I've noticed that too a little bit. You see these really hard contested catches, and he almost comes down with it, but then gets knocked down to the ground.
But it's something you see like A.J. Brown or Justin Jefferson routinely come down with. So,
right.
And that's the thing that's frustrating about DK is, like, you feel like he should always win those because he's so jacked, but it doesn't happen for inexplicable reasons. So, anywho, I think he had 3 catches, so we'll take that. JSN, they got him involved early, but then they kind of just totally went away from him. But I think what happened is after the first half, and I think Mike McDonald said this in a post-game conference too, he said, we just need to run the ball.
Yeah.
And I was glad to see it because, you know, I'm not someone that thinks it's 1950 and that's all we need to do. But when the line is having a tough day, like, just run the fucking ball, man. Like, give ourselves a little boost.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we should run the ball all the time, but look what the Niners did to the Jets last night, or 2 nights ago. They just ran the ball the whole game. I'm certain the Jets' D-line was gassed. They were getting fucking bullied around the whole game.
Especially week 1, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's still an element in 2024 of running the ball and playing physical football.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that because the amount of passing touchdowns that were thrown in week 1 this year was only 33. Last year it was 36. If you go back to 2020, it was like 65.
Wow.
And through the late 2010s to mid 2010s and all the way back to 2013, teams averaged about, the whole NFL anyways, week 1, about 50 touchdowns a game. So there has been a resurgence in defense in the NFL. Teams have kind of just figured out a way to wipe out the big play, and I think it's the reason why you've seen someone like Russell Wilson struggle so much the last few years, and because the basic defenses have just sold out to stop the deep pass. So you just have to become captain checkdown in the modern NFL, and you have to scheme it in a way that gets guys up. Like, I think the 49ers are probably doing the best job in the league right now, besides maybe the Chiefs, of finding ways to attack these modern defenses. And it's, in my opinion, kind of made the game a little less interesting to watch because there's fewer big plays getting hit there, but it is what it is. It's effective, and teams are going to keep doing it as long as it's effective.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us football fans love check down Charlie cooking their defense by just throwing the ball from me to Colby and getting a bunch of yak. It's not gonna appease any fan that isn't none of us enjoy watching the Chiefs. But you think Chiefs fans are going to complain about that? No. So, yeah, it's, unless your team is doing it it's a very non-sought after way to play the game to as a viewer.
Absolutely.
But
And yeah, I guess to put a pin in this game, definitely a lot we need to work on, and the opponent was not, a top-tier team. I think we could all agree there. But Sean Payton is a good offensive mind. That defense has some talent on it, and I feel like if we play that game 10 times, we'd win 10 times out of 10.
yeah.
They got the Broncos got like an absolute gift in the first half, and the fact that they only walked away with, I think, 9 points at the end of it, or whatever it was, might have been 13. That's a pretty huge win in my eyes. And we got a team coming up this week in the Patriots who allowed, I think, bottom 3 in terms of pressure percentage on Jacoby. So we got a chance to feast on this next upcoming opponent, and we're gonna need it because the only good thing about the Patriots is that they have a decent defense.
Right. Before leaving the Broncos behind, I know I mentioned this to you before the podcast started, but Mark Schlereth, who's the Broncos media guy, former NFL, I believe he's in the Hall of Fame.
I think so.
Correct. But he was saying that was the best defensive performance tackling wise that he's ever seen. But then he went on to say either the Seahawks have the best tackling defense ever, or the Broncos have the most unathletic group of men that can't break a tackle. And then he was like, it's probably a combination of both, but it's still pretty awesome hearing that because, I mean, going back to the Russell Wilson trade, like I've just heard him so much more since the Russell thing went down, and I kind of like Mark Schlereth just because he's a very real analyst.
Yeah, he doesn't mince words.
I mean, one time he was like talking about Jerry Jeudy. He said, "Yeah, he's a very athletic guy. He's just not a very good football player." And it's just like, all right, he's pretty blunt and to the point, and I kind of agree with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very awesome to see and hear that. But I guess moving on to New England. Very stoked they beat the Bengals because they're going to be riding high off that, kind of like how we were riding high off the Denver win 2 years ago, and then we went into San Fran and got our ass whooped. But I hope that that's where this game is heading. Patriots are going to be riding their high of knocking off the Bengals, who are the Bengals. They're a good team. But I think that was more the Bengals shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, they're 1-4 with Joe Burrow. In week 1.
For whatever reason, they always come out the gate like hungover fat guys to start the season. I don't know what it is about this current makeup of the Bengals roster, but it's been like the last couple of years that they've done this.
Yeah.
So I think the Patriots just kind of caught them with their pants down, sort of like the Rams did with us last year, where like, you're going into the end of the fourth quarter and you're like, how are we losing this game? Because the Patriots, I watched a fair amount of that game. They did like bare minimum NFL level stuff all game and played good defense. And if you let a team hang around for long enough, it doesn't matter if it's Jacoby, you're gonna lose more often than not. So if we just have to put up more than 16 points to beat this team, I feel pretty good about the odds.
Yeah, what do you have prediction wise for this game?
I think it's going to be an ugly game for the Patriots. I think they're going to turn the ball over like 3 times. I think this defense has really come to play, and we'll see. Maybe I'll be eating these words, but I don't think there was anything fluky about the way we played on defense, and I think there's just like, you want to talk about how the Broncos have no skill positions. Name one Patriots receiver right now.
Well, Jalen Polk, but that's only because he was a Husky.
Right. And he might be their number one guy going against Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, who are both playing at a Pro Bowl level the last chunk of time here. And on the other side of the ball, the Patriots have some good defensive talent, but I mean, I think we're better comparatively on offense. The number one thing that would make us lose this game would be another poor offensive line performance or a poor Geno performance.
I think we're going to win this game, but I'm hesitant to say it's going to be an ugly game for the Patriots because I kind of said the same thing about the Bronco game. I was like, we started off slow last year. Maybe it could happen again this year, and then we gave up 2 safeties. So,
Which
I
have you ever seen that happen? 2 safeties and a half. I don't
know if I've ever seen 2 safeties in a game.
I
from the
haven't
same
either.
team.
But within like 10 minutes of each other, like there's probably like 4 games ever where that's happened going back to 1904. I would be willing to bet.
Yeah. Colby, you want to fact check that for us? How many NFL games have had 2 safeties in them since 1904?
I know one happened in the 70s because my dad used to go to the Rams games in LA all the time, and he said that a player got 3 safeties in a game.
Wow.
But that's definitely the only time that's ever happened. But yeah, I think this Patriots roster is just ass, to be blunt.
Mm-hmm.
And if we lose this game, I'm going to be very mad on the podcast next week.
I would just be shocked to see New England at 2-0. That would be insane.
I think we win 24-13, and maybe it's 17-13 in the fourth quarter. That is the amount I will concede as far as the competition.
I think I think it's gonna be low scoring. I'm gonna say 17-9. That's my final.
We used to be obsessed with winning with that score.
Yeah.
Especially against the Eagles.
I have a feeling like I just think this offensive line is gonna take a couple games to figure each other out and get in sync, and they didn't really give me any reason to believe that. I mean, I guess they had a good second half, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking look like that next week.
Yeah, it's funny that Gino only got sacked 2 times, and we ran the ball for like 140 yards plus, because I felt watching the game like nothing was working for so long that when you look up at the stat sheet at the end of the game, you're like, oh, we only got sacked twice. It felt like way more than that just because he was under constant duress. But yeah, I mean, I could see the first I could see it being a pretty similar game where first half is annoying, but in the end, just the talent disparity really starts to show up in the second half is my prediction.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got us going on 2-0 then.
We do. And I believe in the off-season predictions, we had this we had us starting out like that as well. So
yeah,
we'll be 2-0 coming into, I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but I think we'll be 2-0 heading into the Miami game, which after watching them this last week, I know I was saying they're like the best team in the world in September, but they almost lost to the Jaguars. They probably should have lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an unwinnable game coming up.
Yeah. No, I never really thought it was an unwinnable game. I think it's going to be a tough game to win because obviously they have a pretty lethal offense, but I don't know. I look at the Dolphins and I just don't really take them that seriously. They beat up on the bad teams and they beat up on teams in their home stadium because it's 85 degrees out.
They're kind of like the AFC Cowboys right now, where they just whoop bad teams' asses, and then the second they get a real fight, they like shit their pants.
Yeah. No, that's pretty accurate because, I mean, the Cowboys kicked the Browns' ass, but I mean, I've seen this movie so many times with the Cowboys, like the past really my whole life. They have beat up on the bad teams, play a competitive Super Bowl caliber team, and then they just get destroyed.
Yeah.
So,
and also Deshaun Watson does not look like an NFL quarterback anymore.
He probably doesn't even care.
I don't think
he has
gives a
$250
shit.
million guaranteed.
Yeah, he got a quarter bill guaranteed in his bank account, and he's just like, all right, I'll just go to the massage parlor and show up to a game and throw 4 picks. What are they gonna do? Cut me? They still owe me money.
Which, did you see that he's under investigation for more 2020 lawsuits?
Yeah, he's such a piece of shit, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Either there's a grand conspiracy against Deshaun Watson and everyone's out to get him, or he's just a fucking predator who got gifted $250 million for something he did in 2019, which was play quarterback good.
I wonder if there's anything I wonder if there's any loophole in the NFL's like constitution where they can like void his money if he's this big of a piece of shit.
I think if he gets like suspended permanently, they can. And I just think they should because it's not right that he's getting all that money, man. Just on like a human level.
Like, it could be the Patriots, and I would still, like, want them to, like... I would want Deshaun Watson to not get his money, if that makes sense. Like, no matter what team it is, I'm going to side with the team.
Even if like the 49ers were in this situation, it'd be like I choose them over Deshaun Watson's rapist ass. So
yeah.
Anyways, all that to say, I'm not that impressed that the Cowboys stopped the guy that looks like he's probably the 40th best quarterback in the league right now. So
yeah.
Interesting NFC. The NFC West teams staying in the division. Rams, Cardinals both lost. Rams gave the Lions everything they had, though, and we got the good Matthew Stafford that we talked about a few weeks ago. So
I feel like all four of us had tough matchups week one. I mean,
the Cardinals came
we
out
had the
hot.
easiest. We had the Broncos.
We made it tough.
The Niners just beat the shit out of the Jets. It wasn't even like close.
Yeah, it got interesting when Rodgers threw that tutty to, I think, Lazard. But then the Niners just immediately scored. And it was like, okay, well, this is over.
Yeah. And then the Rams obviously had the Lions, who the Rams almost came back and won. That could be a NFC championship matchup, potentially.
It could. I mean, the Rams
I don't want it to be,
suffered.
but it could be easily.
They lost Puka. They lost Noteboom, and they lost Steve Avila in that game for at least the next 4 games. So, I mean, I think the Rams are really good, and as long as they have Stafford, they're a threat. But you could see them kind of out of this thing in a month if they can't survive all those injuries.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant about the whole Puka thing. He's not on the field, so now who are they going to throw to? They still have Cooper Kupp, and if anything, I feel like the Rams are best at, oh, you're a nobody receiver, you're going to have 250 yards.
It kind of happened in that Lions game. These guys I've never heard of before were like making amazing catches and getting open. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, it's like these guys from Target are just like...
Yeah. I think our games against the Cardinals this year are going to be fun because their offense looks legit, but their defense looks like shit. And that... to me, makes for an interesting matchup when you just have like a explosive team that can't stop anything.
Cardinals have a lot of weapons at the skill position.
They do.
They have new running back Trey Benson. Obviously, they have Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. And then
James Conner looked really good, too.
Yeah, and then Michael Wilson, who has been kind of a...
He doesn't get a lot of targets, but he did score on Sunday.
Yeah,
so.
he's a lot better than I feel like his performance and stat line show, but... Yeah, I mean, you don't want to just leave him wide open because he's still a big body receiver. But yeah, I think I would expect all of our matchups with them to be shootouts, basically.
The McCaffrey injury situation, kind of weird.
Yeah.
They never announced that he was injured, and he just is a scratch on game day. To my absolute dismay in the best ball league I play in, because Jordan Mason was on my opposing team's roster. So I fucking lost. But it didn't seem like they missed a beat at all with Jordan Mason in there. I think the 49ers just have such a good scheme. It's like whoever is quarterbacking or running back has to just actively be bad to slow them down.
Yeah, I wonder if like Kyle Shanahan is just really good at like I feel like it's like the way in which the blockers are blocking for the running back. Like I feel like he's good at that because it seems like no matter if it's McCaffrey, Mostert, Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, they look like Barry Sanders, no matter who it is. So,
and I'm not like an offensive line scheme guru, nor will I be mistaken for one, but I've heard other coaches, like Pete, would always say the 49ers run a really complicated run scheme. And I think there's something to what you're saying there, where it's just like the way they attack you in the run game is really hard to stop because you don't – it's kind of like what Mike McDonald's trying to do on defense, where you have like the same look – but it could be 5 different plays, where the 49ers run game, it's just like you don't know who's going to pull. You don't know if they're going to do a counter. They got Debo to do misdirection stuff. Like it's hard to stop.
Yeah, there's just I feel like if I was on defense, like lined up against them, like there's just so much going on pre-snap. And then once they snap it, you're like, okay, which way are they even going to block? Because like I feel like that every run play with the Niners is like some jet sweep, or even like the runs up the middle. They get these wide gaps, and I'm like, how the hell are they doing this?
Well, and they do all this motion beforehand too, where I feel like a lot of times the defense gets set, and like maybe the tight end and receiver on one side, and then they like switch over the other side, and then right before the snap, one of them goes back, and you're like, that's just got to be confusing from the guys that are like, you're probably running a play that's in your mind on defense, but maybe you have like a secondary thing based on what the offense is doing, and it just like if you have to make that snap decision and react and play football, it makes for a lot of confusion, and I feel like that's why you get so many guys get wide open when they do play action against the 49ers, and why they're so hard to stop in the run game. It's just a tough task.
Which, speaking of schemes, I guess we can do our around the league discussion. We kind of already are, but
Yeah.
The Bears, Caleb Williams with 93 yards and like 20 something attempts throwing the ball.
Oh, it was more than that.
What was it?
The Bears were the only team this week that had a lower yards per attempt stat than Bo Nix did. So I think he threw like 40 passes.
And you know who's on the Titans defense, correct? It's all of the guys that, well, not all of them, but a lot of those guys didn't make the Seahawks roster.
Yeah.
So you can't be telling me that they have an elite defense over there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in that Bears game. I think Caleb is going to be really good, but I mean, like, the NFL regular season is the NFL regular season, and a lot of times you see rookie quarterbacks just completely shit the bed out the gate.
Well, also in Hard Knocks, one of the episodes, like, it was his first preseason game, and I think one of the players went up to him and was like asking him like, "Oh, you nervous?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't get nervous. I've never get nervous before games." I'm like, "Well, then what the hell was that?" Because that was either you being nervous or you just suck.
Yeah, if Mayo Man didn't literally hand them the game with that pick six, they would be 0-1 right now.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, jury's still open on Caleb Williams, but
I also just feel like week one, it's the biggest mirage week of the season. Like, so many weird things happen consistently in week one.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's important not to get carried away with any take you have. But for the most part, I don't think there were that many surprises in week one. I feel like every team you thought was going to be good was good. I feel like every team you thought was going to be shit was. And then
the Panthers.
Oh my God. Like, I thought they would be bad. Like, I was getting angry watching that game because the Saints aren't good. I know the Saints aren't good.
Yeah, the Saints are really bad.
You're making them look like the 72 Dolphins that won every game. Like, it's just embarrassing that this is a real NFL team. And like, I don't know if Bryce Young sucks. It's just like nothing about that team is working right now.
I don't know if he sucks either, but man, he certainly isn't like an outlier for like no matter the circumstance, he'll get the job done. Seems like he needs everyone to be. I don't know. I was gonna say he needs everyone to be elite for him to be good, but I don't know. Everyone around him is horrible. So who knows?
Yeah, I feel like one of the only plays that really stuck out to me was just like Jonathan Mingo fumbling, and I'm like, that was like their second round pick a year ago. So yeah, it's not great. But yeah, I think we're all glad NFL's back. We got another game coming up tomorrow night.
Bills Dolphins.
Yeah, that should be a fun one.
I think the Bills will beat them. Bills kind of own the Dolphins.
Where is it? Is it in Miami or is it in Buffalo?
I don't know. I feel like it's so early in the year, though, I don't think it really matters.
I would take the Dolphins if they're in Miami, but because I don't think the Bills' defense looks that great this year.
It's at Miami.
I'll take the Dolphins.
All right.
You got the Bills?
Yeah, I still got the Bills.
All right. Well, we'll have the winner on next week's pod.
We'll announce the winner next week.
Okay.
Sure.
That'd be a funny way to start it off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all I had for this one.
Yeah, glad we got the dub. Hopefully we'll get another dub, and then we'll be on to Miami at home.
Yeah. We're on to Miami.
Bye. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Yep. Thanks for listening. That's not good.
You showed up every once in a while.